Right guys and girls, Mark Crossfield here talking low spin drivers. Today we've got the Mizuno ST200G, maybe the underdog, comparing up against Mavrik Sub-Zero from Callaway, Ping LST in the G410, Titleist TSi3 and the Cobra King SZ, all set to their low spin dial-ins, the ones that can. Obviously TSi3 you can't, it's the lowest spinning head that stands at the moment. There might be another one coming, I'm sure. We're going to do strokes gained, we're going to put them through the test, looks and feel, price, all the same ideas for the people out there who are seeking the best low spin driver on the market. Should be a fun test, let's get stuck in. So we've got one standout in the Ping LST, which comes in this matte finish where the rest all have a glossy top. The Mizuno, Cobra and Callaway, you see the graphite lids, where the Titleist, it's a clear glossy lid. TSi lineup line on Titleist, which I quite like. No lineup line, but obviously you've got all turbulators and framing bits from the lines on the top of the Ping. You get the chevron V on the Callaway, which is classic. Mizuno Running Bird, which has always looked quite classy on the top of the Mizuno. And then on the top of the Cleveland, we get the little King logo with a C in the middle. Lipsticky colours around the outside of the Cobra, the Mizuno and the Callaway. Again, the Ping and the Titleist, no other graphics on top. I'm going to start with TSi3. We're going to look at the tech of all three of these clubs as well. See if there's any standouts in anyone's tech over anybody else's. We're going to compare the numbers, and we've also got some strokes gained coming for you as well, which is a great way of seeing actually if you could lower your handicap with any of these ideas of lower spinning drivers in the brands or in each brand. Titleist, as always, feels solid, sounds good. It's a truest sound, it's not a high ting. I don't think it's going to be the loudest out of the group by any means. It's a nice medium muffled to tingy sound. It's like right in the middle ground. So I'm going to hit 3 shots with each and then keep rotating to get all the data. So 3, 3, 3, 3, then another batch, then another batch. So we don't have any warming up or cooling down gains of going first for last. The shape of the Titleist is classic. TSi3, I do have to worry about it turning a little to the right. So I do things when I pick this club up to try and make sure I'm trying to hold on to it a bit. Definitely has a fade bias for me. But it does sound good. Lots of players using this club on tour. Titleist seem to have picked up all the TaylorMade players that were binned when they went just for the top end. But also what you'll find with Titleist, it's one of those brands where you'll get drivers in people's bags on tour who aren't contracted. It's never shouted about that much because the brands can't say these things if they're not paying the players. But if you look closely, you will find TSi 2 and 3 in bags of players that you weren't expecting. Hold on to that one nicely, a nice straight shot. Just feels super, super solid, TSi3. Little bit of fade bias, classic looks. So the King SZ next with its yellow looks. It's quite striking, I think, in its appearance. It has the funny face, which we'll look at in the tech for aerodynamics. And obviously the face, so the ideas of twist face was on this way before any other company called it that. This club, we do have a weight system, got the heavy weight at the front to try and keep the spin down. Again, this one sounds medium, but it sounds carbony. You do get the feel of a carbon club on this one and the acoustics. I think this one looks really jazzy down by the ball, so it looks good and it looks smart, but it does look funky as well. Cobra always have this element of cool, I think, in their equipment. But then at the same time, they always bring an element of performance and innovation. They are one of the most innovating companies at the moment, I feel, Cobra. Does sound good, does look good. I think a few people will want more of a classic look driver and this won't appeal, but for many, they'll get the looks of this. Little toey strike, but it'll work. ST200G from Mizuno, awful name for a club, like I have to keep looking at it to remember what it's called. Weight slid to the front. This is in its lowest spin iteration. And has to be said, we'll do price as well. This is maybe the biggest underdog in the group of drivers. And a question for you all for the comment section. Hit me up in the comment section. Have you ever gamed a Mizuno driver or not? If not, why not? Have you put it in tests against your more popular Callaways, TaylorMades, Pings, Titleists? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm interested to know why these don't get into people's bags. They're a good price, and as you'll see from these data sets, I reckon it's going to perform close to anything else. So this is at the moment maybe the most titanium sounding, the higher pitched, which makes it feel fast and loud and kind of like there's an explosion going off, which some people like. Not to say that this one is loud, it's just louder than, say, the others. Looks great down by the ball, classic round shape, maybe the bigger looking head out of all of them. And I think that's to do with the line, the white line that goes all the way around the back. Oh yeah, hit that wow, and that it just feels solid as. Get a smash on that. If you're someone in that comment section who hasn't tried a Mizuno or certainly gamed a driver, and I think so much of that is to do with the fact that we just don't see people winning tournaments with this club, so it doesn't get that press maybe to make you feel like you should go and try it, because it just feels as good as anything. Again, hit that really nice. That is literally an arrow, nearly a line ball. Good smash. Just feels solid. I do feel like, just glancing at some of the numbers on the first group round, this might be the lowest spinning out of all of them possibly, but obviously you've got options of just moving these back if you wanted to just up the spin and dial it in. Let's go for the Mavrik Sub-Zero. So again, 3 heads in this model, and you do have a changeable weight a bit if you wanted to as well. You see the carbon on the top. I quite like the colourway. The orange got a little bit of hassle when it was released, so maybe not in everyone's favour, but it's a good, round, beautiful looking shape. And again, this one feels carbony in its sound, and it's the most unique in its sound. It's got the AI face. This one, they've dialed in the sound as uniquely as they can, and to be fair, nothing really sounds like this club, which then in turn makes nothing really quite feel like it. And that's in a good, positive way. It feels really nice. I do think, like, my mum tried one of these and it was quite a dull sound for her. She just didn't really get on with it. Not that she just didn't like the sound of it. Obviously not in a sub. She tried a max. It was just interesting listening to her hit her tingy driver to this, where I like the sound of it. It kind of didn't make sense for her speed. So again, in the comments down below, how much does the sound play into if you feel like the driver is like the right one for you or not? Because for me, it's a big part. Yeah, it just feels solid. Relatively stable, solid, good. And the shape is just beautiful. It's a lovely round little shape, sits really neutral down by the ball. Yeah, feels, sounds nice. Before we go and look at the tech, I'm going to go for the G410. This is in the LST, low spin technology. So again, this has the matte standout finish in a different way, very Batman-esque. I think it looks great. I think some people won't like all the jazz of the teeth, turbulators and bits on top. I actually quite like it. We've got strokes gained coming at the end. If you've watched any of my other videos with strokes gained where Ping are playing, post comments down below. Who do you reckon is going to win the strokes gained at the end on this? At the moment, if Ping play a strokes gained competition in my other reviews, well, it reminds me a little bit of like that kid who plays football at your school, but they like play for England, you know, so they're young and really good, and they just, whoever side they're on, they kind of ruin the game a little bit. This club feels like that in the strokes gained world at the moment, but let's see how it performs against all these other low spinners. The more I hit this, the more I put it down by the ball. I just think stability, just constantly with this, just think this thing just feels so stable. Again, is that the loudest? Possibly the loudest, certainly the firmest feel off the face, which I do like. Like, I have to say this, if you are testing drivers and you don't put a Ping in the test, I almost feel like you're not actually testing drivers. Like, it just has to be in there, or you're blatantly just buying on whatever brand you like the look of, which is fine. You buy whatever you need to buy, that's cool. But like, this is a benchmarking club, I always feel, and brand. It's just every compare, it's ridiculous. You know, I understand people might not like the looks of it. It is different, and that's a reason. But if you're not benchmarking numbers off this, like I say, are you really testing? Right, one more with this, then I'm going to do 2 more rounds rather than you just sit there watching me smash it into the net. Why don't we go and have a look at the tech and see if there's anything stand out in the tech that might be helping one over the other. And I'll collect a bit more data and we'll come back and maybe have a little look at what the numbers are showing. Let's take a look at the tech of these 4 drivers. Now, if you want in-depth tech of each one, check out the reviews I've done of each of the drivers individually, because there's obviously a lot more. But if we do a brief overview, so Sub-Zero is one of 3 heads, this head having its weight furthest forward. The Mizuno is one of 3 heads. This one has the changeable weights that can go back and forwards, the track on either side, and possibly moves it the most forward of all of the drivers. The King Speedzone, again, one of 2 or 3 heads. I think it's 3 heads, this one being the interchangeable weight forward to back. So you can actually make this one a low spinning and a medium spinning driver in theory. TSi3 is one of 2 drivers at the moment, and it's not really, I mean, it hasn't got it, possibly lower spinning, but it's in there because as we stand at the moment without a TSi4 out, this is the one that gives me the lowest spin, but it certainly hasn't got the weight maybe as aggressively moved to the forward as the others. And the low spinning tech Ping, again, one of 3 heads, this with the head set forward, so you can't change it backwards and forwards so easily. You do have a draw, fade weight and neutral weight, which will move it to the side and forward and back a little bit at a guess, but it's predominantly its low spinning heads, or one of 3 heads. The TSi3 standout points is its aero grade titanium face. Its face is kind of super fast, super flexy, and gonna last over time is what Titleist say. The Mavrik has an AI face, so using a supercomputer, it's got this kind of rippled effect to try and give you the best ball speeds across the face. Also, it's got jailbreak, which others haven't, the bars that join the top to the bottom on the Mavrik. The Ping standout tech is the turbulators on top. It's got a forged face, it's aerodynamic. It was one of the first drivers to really start pushing the aerodynamic kind of agenda with drivers at the moment. Cobra has a forged face, also using aerodynamic ideas with the way it curves around the outside, and it uses a very high tolerance forging process. The Mizuno standout tech as well, it has the crimple bar at the front of the head down on the bottom, again trying to keep those ball speeds up across all parts of the face. All of the drivers have a changeable neck, some more extensive than the other. The Mizuno and the Cobra neck, very extensive. Titleist and Callaway also. The Ping may be the least extensive in movability, but the least offensive down by the ball as well. It's a seamless, small little changeable neck. And remember, they got 3 heads is what they're talking about more, and then fine tuning with the neck sleeve. All 5 drivers packed with tech. Let's see how they get on and see which one comes out as the lowest spinning. Right, data's in. Let's take a look at what's coming out of these low spin drivers. Are there any standouts? So let's look at the strikes to kick us off, all kind of homing in my normal slight toe area. 111, 110, 110, 111, 111. So the King Cobra and the Ping fractionally slower, but very, very close. And you can see efficiencies there, literally nothing in it. Let's equate that into ball speed. So ball speed winner was the Mizuno at 162. Then a 161, a 159 from the Cobra, 160, 161 from the Mavrik, and then 162 from the Mizuno. Remember, there was no warming ups here. I went round in groups of 3s basically, so they were all getting an equal test. A lot of 160s there, isn't there, Mr. Andrew Rice and Martin Chuck, if you're watching? So this is a low spin test. Let's look at the low spin. Titleist at 2.3 average, Cobra at 2.2, Ping at 2.3, Mavrik at 2.1, and the standout again is the Mizuno. So for me, the Mizuno is basically too low a spinning. I wouldn't want to be averaging 1.8. So for me, from those numbers, what it's showing is that the Mizuno gives you maybe the biggest range of changing the spin, because remember, some of them, like the TSi3, you can't change really much apart from playing with your shafts, which you've got the same options in a Mizuno. And necks, lofts, again, you have the same options in the Mizuno. When it comes to shoving weight forward, that one seems to shove it forward maybe more than the others. Too forward for me. And I reckon it would be too forward for lots and lots of people. But it's an option, isn't it? Because remember, I would just move that 1 or 2 steps back to dial it into the other numbers. But remember, this was a low spin test. I wanted to see how low we could get these spinning. Second in was the Mavrik, and the Mavrik was the longest by 2 yards over the Mizuno, and then 281 with the Ping, 282 with the Cobra 281. There's nothing in the yardage there that wouldn't make me test and retest. They're all so tight. We're looking at 5 yards extra carry over the TSi3 to the Mavrik, but what we did see from the TSi3, I got one of these, a 164. Total spin was 2.8, only carried 2.78 because it was a bit of a heely cut. But a 164 ball speed, like, put that into perspective. 164 was my top, by far the fastest on TSi. So if I get that with the same strike and other bits, the potential of that obviously is bigger. So that's why, for me, they're all very close. I wouldn't be choosing. The spins are all amazingly close as well. Same with launches, subject to strike, and ball speeds. It's just the Mizuno stands out as a low spinner. And I define what standout means. It doesn't mean stand out better or worse. It just stands out as one that can get to lower spins. So if you wanted to move that down, that's definitely standing out as one that can do that for you. Really hard to choose. You can see they're just all really good performers. Let's have a look at the price, and also let's look at the strokes gained to see if that throws up any standouts. So I've got the strokes gained in front of me here. We're going to take a look. Also, we're going to talk quickly about the price. So the King Cobra, the Ping, and the Mizuno are all under £400. So they're considerably cheaper than the Mavrik and the Titleist when released, which were up nearer the 500 and just over. So the Cobra, the Ping, and the Mizuno definitely come out as, well, cheaper drivers from pretty world-class brands there. How much is that going to affect from the numbers you've seen in the strokes gained? Well, if we look at the strokes gained, the Cobra total shot. So we've got two groups of shots here. We've got recoveries included, and we've got the recoveries not included, which we'll talk about. So all shots, Mizuno was the worst, losing 2.55 shots against the Tour Pro. Then it was the Cobra was second worst, losing 1.5 shots. The best, as always, well, no, actually the Mavrik was the best. The Sub-Zero one, way, something beat the Ping. At last, something actually beat the Ping in strokes gained. So 0.3 gains with the Ping, 0.1, I mean, a one shot gain with the Mavrik Sub-Zero. That's massive, isn't it? That is like huge. So it's a 3.5 shot difference between the Sub-Zero and the Mizuno if you include all the shots on that test. So in theory, that would be a no-brainer of those ones. I mean, your Ping and Sub-Zero and not looking at the others. Now, if we remove the recovery shot, so the recovery shot for me, when I'm testing, within reason, is me not performing. So if I don't perform a lot, you might buy a club around which one performs for you better or not, subject to your lack of performance. For me, when I hit drives that don't perform, how much of that is the club? Well, that's something that is up for debate and something that I feel I can beat. Give me enough time in practice, give me enough goes, give me enough shots. This will just keep jumping around and jostling around. So looking at the recovery shots, remove strokes gained here paints a very different picture. Because now we've got the Cobra coming out on top, 1.26 gains when you remove recoveries. Then followed by the Ping, 1.23, so really close. Ping just constantly up there on the strokes gained. Then the Mizuno gaining 1.17, then the Mavrik, so the Mavrik now second to bottom, gaining 1.6, and then the Titleist gaining 0.7. So stand out for me there is all four of them are very similar when you remove the recoveries. The Titleist is just falling back and possibly not the lowest spinning out of all of those with the weights, or certainly potential low spin, which is interesting because the low spin will give me the most distance. And to be fair, on a low spin driver, I might look at recoveries included a little bit more, because that is the problem with low spin drivers. You can get ones that dip and curve and move because they are lacking in so much spin. Which one would I choose out of that? Very hard, isn't it? It has to be the Ping, second on both tests. The Mavrik, I would want to retest all shots, keeping recoveries in to see if that constantly stays up there. And the Cobra has done blooming good, isn't it? If there was no brand alliance, I didn't care which one I wanted out of no brands, like, you know, I didn't want a Ping more than a Callaway, which some of you might bring. You would almost drop the Titleist and retest the other four and then include all recoveries. Or I would just test the Cobra, the Ping and the Mavrik, keep all recoveries in, see what comes out. very, very close. Let me know in the comments below what you think, which one would you go for and why. Have you ever tried low spin drivers? Is it something you think would help you or hurt you? And also, are you getting fit using strokes gained? Let me know in the comments. If you're not using strokes gained, I think it throws such an interesting light on what can be quite bland data sheets, and working out if you want to keep your recoveries in or not, I think is a really interesting question for a lot of golfers, because some of you might be going there for pure strokes gain, which in turn would be distance, you know, trying to get the most out of it. But then you might be going for more accuracy. You might have your distance, and then you might think, right, recoveries is one of the key aspects I'm trying to fix it, so let's keep them in and measure. Having those agendas, having those chats with your fitters is so important, but definitely push your fitters to start looking and using a bit of strokes gain to give you an idea of the value of these drivers, because as you can see, they all have very different physical monetary values, yet well, the Cobra and the Ping, which is definitely cheaper than the Mavrik and the Titleist, are coming out on top without recovery shots. And then if you keep recovery shots in, the Ping and the Mavrik are coming out pretty good as well, and they've got quite a bit of poundage between them. Thanks for watching as always. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you in the next video.